Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin by telling you this. Revenge is not about hurting those who hurt you. It's not about getting even, shouting louder, or causing more pain. The best revenge is not rooted in retaliation, it's rooted in transformation. You don't rise by lowering others, you rise by lifting yourself. You don't get stronger by sinking to their level. You get stronger by building yourself into someone they never thought you could become. That is true power. When someone hurts you, disrespects you, or betrays you, the natural urge is to respond with anger. But let me offer you a better way. Let your success be the loudest response. Let your discipline, your growth, and your peace echo louder than any insult ever spoken to you. People expect you to crumble. They expect you to fight back or fall apart. What they don't expect is for you to rise in silence and let your elevation speak for itself. You see, the strongest form of revenge is not found in words. It's found in healing. When you choose to heal instead of hate, you take your power back. You show them that they don't control your emotions, that their attempt to hurt you failed, that you're the master of your mood, not the victim of their mood swings. Choosing peace over pain doesn't mean weakness. It means wisdom. It means you're done giving energy to things that are beneath your destiny. One of the most powerful decisions you can make is to build a life that no longer includes the people who hurt you. You don't need to tell them you've moved on. Just move. Move in silence. Move with grace. Move toward the life that is calling you forward. That is the revenge they never see coming. Because nothing haunts someone more than seeing you live a life that thrives without them in it. And when the pain feels unbearable, don't bury it, burn it. Burn it as fuel. Turn the heartbreak into hunger. Turn the rejection into redirection. Let every wound become a weapon for wisdom. Let it sharpen your focus. Let it wake up a new level of discipline and ambition within you. The people who tried to bury you didn't realize they were planting a seed. But remember, success alone is not enough. You must also master your emotions. Real revenge is when you no longer react, when you no longer respond to foolishness, when you no longer flinch at disrespect, when their words hit a wall of your self-patrol instead of your heart. That is emotional intelligence. And that is a level they can't reach. Don't explain your evolution, just evolve. The more you explain, the more you give them space in your life. Stop giving explanations to people who never deserved your attention. Let them wonder how you got from where you were to where you are. Let them see your glow and be blinded by the highest form of revenge is peace. Not the kind of peace that avoids conflict, but the kind that can stand in the middle of chaos and not be moved. Because peace is strength. Peace is power. Peace is the sign that you have outgrown the battle they are still trying to fight. Outgrow their version of you. Don't argue with it. Don't try to fix it. Just rise beyond it. Show them a version of yourself that is wiser, quieter, stronger, and unbothered. Let their memory of who you were be replaced by the reality of who you've become, because growth is the ultimate revenge. And remember, never mirror their behavior. You lose when you copy their cruelty. You win by keeping your integrity. The most powerful people don't scream, curse, or fight. They simply rise silently into the future while the world wonders how they did it. Learn the lesson. Don't live in the pain. Take the hurt and turn it into boundaries. Take the betrayal and turn it into discernment. Let every painful experience be a teacher, not a prison guard. The goal is not to carry the pain, but to carry the wisdom it gave you. And finally, stop trying to prove yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You don't need their validation. You need your evolution. Don't prove. Improve. Every day become more focused, more grateful, more centered. That, my friend, is the best revenge to anyone who ever tried to break you. You didn't just survive, you became unstoppable. Revenge is often misunderstood. Many people think it's about returning pain for pain, an eye for an eye, or making others suffer as you did. But true revenge is not about destruction, it's about elevation. When someone hurts you, the most powerful thing you can do is rise. You don't rise to hurt them, you rise to heal yourself. You rise to reclaim the power they tried to take. You rise to become a version of yourself so elevated, so refined, that the people who wounded you no longer have access to your peace or presence. You see, the goal is not to punish them. It's to prove to yourself that you are greater than the pain they caused. That is strength. That is character. That is the best revenge. The truth is, life will always bring people into your path who don't see your worth, who mistreat you, use you, or lie to you. But their actions are not a reflection of your value. They are a mirror of their own limitations. Don't lower yourself to their level to try to teach them a lesson. Instead, take a step back and let your evolution teach the lesson. When you grow beyond their reach, when you become so grounded in your peace that their negativity can no longer shake you, you send the strongest message without speaking a word. That's how you win. That's how you get your power back. Not by attacking, but by advancing. People expect you to crumble. They expect you to stay stuck in the pain they caused. But when you choose to rise, to become wiser, stronger, and more focused, you break their expectations and build your legacy. Let them watch you succeed. Let them witness the glow up they never believed was possible. Let them see that what they tried to destroy only made you more determined. Because when your life becomes a reflection of discipline, growth, and inner peace, the need for revenge fades. Why? Because you've already won. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't need to convince them of your growth. Your life will speak for itself. The best revenge is letting go of the people who hurt you and becoming someone they can never reach again. Not because you're bitter, but because you've evolved, you've healed, you've matured. You've stopped playing the game of proving, and instead, you've committed to improving. That is what real strength looks like. That is what true maturity feels like. It's in your silence. It's in your peace. It's in your elevation. Let every betrayal be your fuel. Let every lie build your fire. Take that pain and pour it into your purpose. You don't need to fight them. You need to finish becoming who you were meant to be. Let your goals become louder than your grief. Let your vision become bigger than your vengeance. Because at the end of the day, you don't owe them a reaction. You owe yourself a future. And when your future shines brighter than their darkness, you will realize you didn't need revenge. You needed renewal. You needed to rise, and you did. That's the kind of victory that no one can take away from you. That is the best revenge. Let your success speak so loudly that it drowns out every lie, every insult, every attempt to bring you down. There is something incredibly powerful about staying silent in the face of betrayal and choosing to build, to rise, to grow. It's not weakness to walk away without retaliation. It's wisdom. You see, when someone tries to hurt you, they often expect a reaction. They want to see you broken, angry, and lost. They want to feel like they still have control over your emotions. But when you choose not to respond in anger and instead respond by leveling up your life, you show them that their words and actions hold no power over your destiny. This is why healing is essential. Healing is not just about feeling better, it's about becoming better. It's about looking at the pain and deciding, I won't let this define me. I will use this to refine me. That's what powerful people do. They don't dwell in their wounds, they rise from them. And in doing so, they become unrecognizable to the ones who once tried to tear them down. That's why you don't need to focus on revenge in the traditional sense. Focus on the rebuild. Focus on the comeback. Focus on creating a life that is so aligned with your purpose and filled with peace that the past becomes irrelevant. Detachment is a powerful revenge. When you reach a point where you no longer think about them, where they no longer influence your mood, your choices, or your heart, that's when you know you've won. The strongest form of revenge is not in hurting them, it's in becoming completely indifferent to their existence. No longer fighting a battle, you've walked off the battlefield entirely and started building your empire. That's real power. That's what disturbs those who try to break you. They can't access you anymore. People who hurt you often do so from their own place of pain and insecurity. They lash out, manipulate, and betray because they're lost within themselves. But their darkness is not your responsibility. You're not here to carry their brokenness. You're here to carry your own calling. So rather than getting stuck trying to prove your worth or correct their perception of you, rise, elevate, show up for yourself so powerfully that they're forced to watch you shine from the sidelines. Remember, the goal is not to be seen winning in their eyes. The goal is to feel whole within your own. Your peace is priceless. Guard it. Your growth is sacred. Nurture it. Don't get distracted trying to respond to noise when your purpose is calling you higher. The more you improve, the less you'll care about proving. That shift is where freedom begins. And in that freedom, you'll realize that revenge was never needed because peace, growth, and joy were far more rewarding. There will come a time when you look back and thank them, not for the hurt, but for the awakening. They showed you where not to go, what not to accept, and who never to become. They pushed you into a version of yourself that is stronger, wiser, and more focused. That in itself is the ultimate revenge, becoming someone you're proud of, not because of them, but in spite of them. And when you reach that place, you'll no longer need closure or apology. You'll have something far better. Clarity, confidence, and a future they can never be part of. There's a strength that comes from choosing peace over retaliation. It's a kind of strength that doesn't always make sense to the world because the world often tells us to fight back, to seek revenge, to make sure people know they hurt us. But the truth is, the greatest revenge is when you don't allow their actions to disturb your spirit. When you keep moving forward silently and powerfully, they're left with the weight of their own behavior while you carry the freedom of self-control. When someone wrongs you, your instinct might be to react. But reaction only gives them more influence in your life. Instead, choose to respond, not to them, but to yourself. Respond by rising higher. Respond by becoming everything they never believed you could be. Success is not just about achievement, it's about elevation. It's about showing, not shouting. You don't have to tell the world how much they hurt you. You don't have to announce that you're doing better. Just do better. Just become better. Let your life become a statement, not your words. When people see you flourishing, growing, glowing, and building, that's when they'll realize they never broke you. They revealed you. They didn't ruin your life. They helped you find the parts of yourself that needed strength. The best revenge isn't to show how angry you are, it's to show how untouched you are. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care more about your peace than their presence. There's something powerful about not needing closure from someone who hurt you. When you no longer need an apology, when you no longer rehearse the pain, when you can think of them without emotional disruption, that's when you've won. That's the true measure of revenge. Not destruction, but detachment. They wanted your attention, but they don't deserve it. They wanted to control your emotions, but now you're in full control. That's where your strength lies, in your refusal to give them any more space in your heart or mind. Use the hurt they caused as motivation. Let it push you into your purpose. Let every painful word or action become a reason to become more disciplined, more focused, more aligned with your true path. You don't need revenge when you're on the road to success. That road is paved with silence, patience, and relentless determination. The higher you go, the quieter you become. You stop responding and you start building. You stop looking back and you start moving forward with clarity. And every step forward leaves their memory further behind. You don't win by proving them wrong. You win by proving to yourself that you never needed their approval in the first place. You are not who they said you were. You are not defined by their betrayal. You are not limited by their rejection. In fact, their mistreatment revealed your inner power. It showed you that you're capable of walking away, of letting go, of starting over. It taught you that not everyone is meant to stay, and that's okay. Because your journey isn't about revenge. It's about rebirth. A rebirth into someone stronger, someone wiser, someone more peaceful. Eventually, the people who hurt you will have to live with their actions. You don't need to seek vengeance. They're already facing the consequences of their own character. Meanwhile, you're rising. You're becoming the person you were always meant to be. And that quiet transformation, that's the kind of revenge that doesn't just win, it heals. It restores. It liberates. And when you reach that place, you'll realize the best revenge was never about them. It was always about you becoming free. There is a peace that comes with choosing not to respond to the people who tried to break you. It's not that you're weak or that you didn't feel the pain. You did. You felt it deeply. But instead of letting that pain poison you, you chose to transform it. You made a decision to rise above, to no longer let their actions define your behavior. And that choice is what makes you powerful. You didn't react with anger or revenge. You responded with growth. You responded with elevation. That kind of response takes courage. It takes discipline. But most importantly, it takes maturity. The kind of maturity that says, I will not become like the person who hurt me. There's something incredibly liberating about not needing to prove anything to anyone. You don't have to show them that you're okay. You don't have to broadcast your healing. Real power is quiet. Real healing is personal. You know you're winning when you stop thinking about how they'll react and start focusing entirely on your own path. That's when the shift happens. That's when their name stops crossing your mind. That's when the emotional triggers lose their power. You begin to feel lighter. Not because the memory is gone, but because it no longer controls you. You finally learned that your peace matters more than your pride. And that is the beginning of true freedom. Revenge, when rooted in anger, can blind you. It can make you chase things that don't matter and miss the things that do. But revenge that's rooted in personal excellence, in mastering your mindset, in building a life that honors your values, that kind of revenge doesn't destroy, it builds. It builds you into someone they never saw coming. And as you continue to grow, the very people who hurt you may watch from a distance, wondering how the same pain they used to try and ruin you became the fuel that rebuilt your life. Use the betrayal as a blueprint. Let it teach you what kind of people to avoid, what kind of love to accept, and what kind of energy to protect. Sometimes the people who hurt you do so because they see your light before you do. They recognize your potential before you step into it. And instead of encouraging it, they try to dim it. But their attempt to break you only reveals your strength. It shows you just how resilient you are. It shows you that your worth is not up for debate, it's already established. And now you walk differently, you talk differently, you protect yourself more wisely. It's not bitterness, it's wisdom. You don't rise by holding grudges, you rise by holding vision. Let your future become more important than your past. Let your growth become more powerful than your grief. What they meant for harm, you can use for good. That's what strong people do. They turn pain into purpose. They don't need revenge to feel better. They need movement, progress, peace. And once you've tasted that kind of peace, you won't trade it for anything, not even the satisfaction of getting back at those who wronged you. Eventually, the people who hurt you will have to live with what they did. Life has a way of showing people the impact of their choices. But that's not your responsibility to manage. Your only job is to heal, to grow, to stay aligned with your purpose, and to keep moving forward. The best revenge isn't in shouting your strength. It's in quietly becoming unstoppable. That is how you win. Not with words, not with vengeance, but with a life so full, so focused, so peaceful, that nothing they did can hold you back anymore. There is a moment in life when you realize that not everyone deserves a reaction. Not everyone deserves your energy, your explanation, or your time. The people who hurt you often expect to see you fall apart. They want to feel powerful by watching you suffer. But the greatest revenge is when you refuse to give them that satisfaction. When you smile instead of argue, when you walk away instead of fight, when you grow instead of grieve. That is how you rise. That is how you win. You see, your growth confuses people who only knew you by your pain. They expected the broken version of you. They expected you to crumble under pressure, but instead you evolved. You became stronger, wiser, and more grounded. And that silent transformation becomes the most powerful message you could ever send. When someone wounds you, the first instinct may be to retaliate, to strike back with the same intensity. But understand this, when you react out of anger, you give them control over your behavior. You let them decide your next move. But when you choose not to react, when you pause, breathe, and rise above, you take back your power. You are no longer playing their game, you've outgrown it. And when you've outgrown the games people play, that's when you become untouchable. Because nothing they do or say can reach you anymore. You've stepped into a new mindset, one that is rooted in peace and purpose, not pain. Don't allow yourself to become bitter. Bitterness doesn't hurt them, it only poisons you. And carrying bitterness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Instead, release it. Let go, not because they deserve forgiveness, but because you deserve freedom. You deserve to wake up with clarity, to go to sleep in peace, and to move through life without dragging old wounds behind you. That's the real victory. That's the kind of revenge that doesn't just affect them, It elevates you. It brings you closer to your true self, to your purpose, and to the future that's waiting for you. Every time you rise, instead of react, you build a legacy. You teach others through your silence. You show them what maturity looks like. You show them that grace is more powerful than rage, that healing is more valuable than hurting back. The person who hurt you may never apologize. They may never acknowledge what they did, but that's okay, because your healing is not dependent on their remorse. It's dependent on your decision. The decision to stop giving pain a seat at your table. The decision to stop letting someone else's darkness dim your light. That choice changes everything. Life. The word, and one day when you look back, you'll see that their actions didn't break you, they built you. They revealed your strength. They introduced you to the version of yourself that doesn't give up, that doesn't fall apart, that learns, rises, and keeps going. You'll realize that everything you went through was shaping you, refining you, making you into someone more resilient and more aware. So now, when someone tries to hurt you again, you won't respond with anger. You'll smile, because you've already seen how powerful you become when you choose to rise instead of react. You are not here to live in bitterness. You are here to build something greater. A peaceful mind, a strong spirit, a focused vision. That is the best revenge. Not shouting, not posting, not fighting, just living so fully and so intentionally that the people who once hurt you can no longer find a trace of the person they thought they had power over. You've transformed, and that transformation speaks louder than any words ever could. There's something deeply empowering about walking away from what was meant to destroy you and choosing instead to rebuild yourself in silence. The best revenge is not a loud comeback or a dramatic response. It's becoming so focused on your purpose that you no longer even think about those who tried to hurt you. That is strength. That is evolution. When people hurt you, they often expect you to stay wounded, to live in your pain, and to carry that burden forever. But when you refuse to let their actions define your identity, you break the pattern. You show them, and more importantly yourself, that no one has the power to hold you back unless you give it to them. The mistake many people make is believing that revenge has to look like punishment. That it has to look like making them suffer the way they made you suffer. But all that does is tie you to their energy. It keeps you stuck in the cycle of pain. True revenge is not about punishing them. It's about freeing yourself. It's about stepping so fully into your own growth that you have no room left to even care about their presence. You become so grounded in your healing, so busy building a life of value and peace, that their negativity can't even find a place to land in your mind. You've outgrown the drama. You've outgrown the noise. And that maturity is what truly separates you from them. Every time you choose not to react, not to get drawn into the chaos, not to stoop to their level, you are elevating. You are reminding yourself that your time and energy are sacred. You weren't created to live in a constant state of defense, always trying to prove something. You were made for more. You were made to rise. And rising means letting go. Letting go of the story they wrote about you. Letting go of the false version of you they project. Letting go of the need to fix their view and focusing instead on fixing your future. That's where the real power lies. And it's not just about personal success either. The best revenge is also peace, a calm heart, a steady mind, a life that doesn't need chaos to feel alive. When you reach a level of peace where their name no longer stirs up anger, where their memory no longer holds you hostage, you have truly won. You don't win when they hurt like you hurt. You win when you no longer care whether they do. You win when you no longer care whether they do. You win when you no longer care whether they do. You win when you no longer care whether they do. You win when you no longer care whether they do. You are no longer attached to their approval or their apology. You've detached from their influence and stepped into your own light. Sometimes the people who hurt you thought they were strong because they could manipulate your emotions. They believed they had control because they saw you struggle, but they never expected you to rise. They never expected you to become someone who didn't need revenge because you built something greater instead, a strong identity, a clear purpose, a peaceful spirit. And now their opinion of you is irrelevant, their presence unnecessary, their power gone. That's what the best revenge looks like. It's not the dramatic climax of a movie. It's the quiet, daily decision to live well, to heal deeply, to move on gracefully, to thrive unapologetically. And in doing so, you show the world and yourself that the most powerful thing you can ever do after being hurt is to become someone no one can hurt in the same way again. You've risen, you've evolved, and in that, you've already won. One of the most misunderstood concepts in life is the idea of revenge. People often think it's about getting back at someone, making them feel what you felt, showing them that they messed with the wrong person. But real revenge isn't loud. It doesn't come with yelling or fighting or public displays of anger. Real revenge is quiet. It's internal. It's about personal elevation. The moment you stop trying to prove a point and start living a life that reflects peace, purpose, and growth, you've already taken your power back. You've already won, because nothing unsettles someone more than watching the person they tried to break become whole without them. You see, revenge that is fueled by pain will only bring more pain. It keeps you tied to the person and the situation that hurt you. It makes you relive the wound over and over again. But revenge fueled by healing leads to transformation. It pushes you to grow so much that the wound no longer controls your life. The person who caused the pain no longer takes up space in your heart or mind. That's when you know you've healed, not when they apologize, not when they suffer, but when you are no longer emotionally attached to what they did, when you can remember it without pain and move forward without resentment. The beauty of rising after being hurt is that it builds an unshakable foundation within you. You become someone who knows how to stand alone, how to love yourself through the process, and how to create joy that isn't dependent on external circumstances. When someone hurts you, and you decide not to seek revenge in the traditional sense, but instead work on yourself, your mind, your peace, your purpose, you become a different kind of powerful. The kind of powerful that cannot be manipulated. The kind of powerful that no longer reacts to small energy. That is the best kind of revenge. People who hurt you often don't expect you to grow. They expect you to stay broken, bitter, and lost in your pain. But when you rise, when you smile again, when you focus on building your dreams instead of replaying your pain, you shock them. And more importantly, you surprise yourself. You begin to realize that everything they did only pushed you closer to who you were meant to be. Their betrayal became your blessing. Their rejection became your redirection. That's how life works. What was meant to destroy you becomes the very thing that develops your strength. There is peace in letting go. There is healing in choosing silence over reaction. There is growth in not attending every argument you're invited to. You don't need to participate in the drama. You don't need to explain yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Your energy is sacred. Your future is too important. Every time you choose to walk away, you protect your spirit. Every time you choose not to respond to the chaos, you preserve your peace. And that, my friend, is where true power lives. Let your life speak for itself. Let your actions reflect your evolution. You don't need to convince anyone that you've changed. You don't need to show them what they lost. Just keep building, keep growing, keep shining. And in time you'll realize that the best revenge wasn't in what they saw, it was in who you became. They don't need to know your success came from the fire they tried to burn you with. Let them wonder, let them watch from a distance as you rise in silence. Because at the end of the day, the best revenge is simply this: becoming so whole, so happy, and so fulfilled that their existence no longer even crosses your mind. There's a quiet kind of power that comes when you decide to stop chasing revenge and start choosing growth. When someone hurts you, it can feel like your entire world is shaken. You question your worth, your trust, and sometimes even your identity. But in that moment of pain, you're also given a choice. A choice to either stay stuck in the anger and bitterness or to use the pain as a stepping stone toward a stronger, wiser version of yourself. The truth is, people who intentionally hurt you are often trying to bring you down to their level. They feed off your reaction. They want to see you lose control. But when you remain grounded, when you remain silent and focused, you take away their power. And that silence, that stillness becomes your strength. The best revenge is becoming someone they can't access emotionally. When you no longer react, when their name no longer brings up bitterness in your heart, when you see them and feel nothing, that's victory. Because emotional control is power. You are no longer a puppet being controlled by someone else's actions. You've taken ownership of your own peace. And nothing is more intimidating to someone who once controlled you than realizing they no longer have that influence. Your silence becomes a message. Your peace becomes your protest. And your growth becomes the loudest answer to their actions. You are not here to prove anything to anyone. You are not obligated to make them regret what they did. That's not your job. Your job is to heal, to rebuild, to love yourself enough to walk away from pain and walk into purpose. The best revenge is turning your attention away from them and toward the life you're meant to live. You're not just moving on, you're moving up. You're building habits, routines, and relationships that align with your highest self. And in that process, you discover something amazing. They no longer matter. Their actions no longer determine your emotions. Their words no longer have weight in your world. This kind of evolution can only happen when you let go of the need to be seen, heard, or validated by those who hurt you. You don't need closure from them. You need commitment to yourself. Closure isn't something they give you. It's something you give yourself when you decide that your future deserves more attention than your past. The best revenge is becoming emotionally free. It's waking up and not thinking about them. It's being fully present in your own life, excited about your own goals, surrounded by people who support and respect you. Growth like this doesn't happen overnight. It requires intention. It requires choosing silence when you want to speak. It requires walking away when everything in you wants to fight. But each time you choose peace, you grow stronger. Each time you choose to build instead of break, you become more powerful. And eventually your life starts to reflect all the work you've done. You become more confident, more stable, more grounded, and people notice, even the ones who tried to break you. Let them notice. Let them wonder how the person they tried to destroy became so whole, so focused, so elevated. But don't go back to show them. Don't look over your shoulder hoping they see. Stay on your path. Stay committed to your growth. Because the best revenge isn't about what they see. It's about how you feel. It's about living in peace, creating joy, and never again giving them access to the parts of you they once mishandled. That's your power. That's your healing. And that is the best revenge you could ever give. There comes a time in life when you must stop asking why they hurt you and start asking what you're going to do with the pain. Because the truth is, not everyone who breaks you feels guilty. Some people sleep peacefully after leaving you in pieces. They move on like nothing happened while you're left to pick yourself up, confused and heartbroken. But that's where your strength is born. Not in the hurt, but in the rebuild. Not in their apology, but in your ability to rise without one. The best revenge isn't about making them suffer. It's about refusing to let them have a place in your future. It's about living in such a way that you no longer care whether they ever realize what they did. You're too busy becoming someone greater. You gain power the moment you stop reacting. You reclaim your energy the second you stop explaining yourself to people who were committed to misunderstanding you. The more you evolve, the less you need to prove. You begin to understand that revenge doesn't come from confrontation, it comes from transformation. You no longer feel the need to yell, to correct, or to retaliate. You learn that the loudest statement you can make is silence, a life lived in peace, a heart unbothered, a spirit that's not easily shaken. That's the kind of revenge that changes everything. Because they expected chaos, but you gave them calm. They expected bitterness, but you gave them grace. And grace, when undeserved, speaks louder than any insult. People who hurt you often expect you to chase closure. They expect you to demand answers, to break down, to lose yourself trying to make sense of their actions. But the best revenge is when you rise without their explanation, when you stop knocking on the door of someone who already showed you they don't value your presence, when you start building a life that doesn't include people who drained your energy and damaged your peace. That's how you win. You win when you no longer need the apology. You win when their absence brings relief, not regret. That's when you know you finally healed. Your evolution will disturb the people who wanted you to stay broken. And that's okay. You weren't meant to stay where they left you. You weren't meant to keep carrying that pain like a badge of honor. You're meant to rise, to learn, to grow, to move forward with wisdom, not resentment. Because holding on to pain doesn't punish them. It punishes you. It steals your joy. It clouds your vision. And it slows down your progress. But the moment you let go, everything changes. You start seeing life differently. You start attracting better people, better opportunities, and a better version of yourself. There's no greater revenge than showing up as the person they never believed you could become. The person who isn't bitter, but better. The person who doesn't need validation, just vision. The person who chose healing over hatred, peace over pettiness, and growth over grudge. That kind of revenge is lasting. It doesn't fade with time. It builds a legacy. A story of how you were hurt but not destroyed, misunderstood but not defined, rejected but never reduced. So keep rising, keep building, keep choosing yourself every single day. You don't need to prove anything to anyone who chose to walk away, hurt you, or take you for granted. They were a chapter, not the whole story. Let their part end and turn the page, because what's coming next is a version of you that even they wouldn't recognize, a version that doesn't just survive but thrives. And that, without question, is the best revenge. There is a quiet power in choosing to rise instead of react. When someone hurts you, it's easy to feel consumed by the pain. The betrayal lingers, the disappointment echoes, and your mind replays every word, every moment, trying to make sense of what happened. But here's the truth: not everything broken needs to be fixed, and not every wound needs to be avenged. The best revenge is not found in confrontation or in trying to make someone see the damage they caused. The best revenge is in the transformation that comes when you heal, grow, and move on in silence. When you become the person who no longer needs to explain, prove, or retaliate, that's when you truly win. People often expect you to react when they hurt you. They anticipate that you'll fall apart, lose control, or chase them for validation. But the most powerful thing you can do is disappoint those expectations. Walk away with dignity. Let your silence say everything your words never could. Because silence is not weakness, it's wisdom. It means you've decided that your peace matters more than their attention. It means you've understood that some battles are not worth fighting because the victory comes not from defeating them, but from freeing yourself. There is healing in choosing not to respond. There is growth in deciding to focus on your journey instead of their judgment. You don't owe them your anger, your tears, or your time. What you owe is to yourself, to become better, not bitter, to use the pain as fuel for your purpose. Let them watch you succeed without their support. Let them see you smiling without their presence. That kind of revenge doesn't come with drama. It comes with discipline, with the decision to turn away from what hurt you and step fully into what heals you. You'll come to realize that you don't need revenge to feel whole. You need clarity. You need boundaries. You need to rebuild your life in a way that reflects your worth, not their words. The people who tried to hurt you will eventually be left with the weight of their own choices. But you'll walk lighter because you refuse to carry bitterness. That doesn't mean what they did was okay. It means you're no longer letting it control your future. You're choosing to build, to rise, and to live with peace in your heart. The best revenge is showing up every day and being unapologetically focused on your goals. It's showing the world and yourself that you don't need validation from those who couldn't see your value. It's proving not to them, but to yourself that you're capable of thriving in the absence of people who once made you feel small. And over time, that confidence builds into something unshakable. You begin to realize that the pain they caused taught you resilience, that their rejection redirected you towards something better, that you never needed them to be whole. You just needed time to rediscover your own strength. Let your actions speak. Let your energy speak. Let the way you carry yourself reflect the peace you've created within. You don't need to go back to the pain to prove anything. You don't need revenge when your life is already the answer. Keep rising, not for them, but for you. Keep healing, not because they deserve forgiveness, but because you deserve freedom. And in doing so, you'll come to see that the greatest revenge is living so fully, so freely, and so purposefully that nothing they did can touch the life you've built. That is how you win. With grace, with growth, and with a quiet strength they never saw coming. There comes a point in your life when you realize that not everyone who hurts you is worth your response. Some people don't deserve your energy, your time, or your explanation. They don't deserve to live rent-free in your thoughts. And the greatest shift happens when you stop trying to make them understand how they made you feel, and instead you focus all that energy into becoming who you were always meant to be. That's the kind of revenge that doesn't seek to wound back, but seeks to rise. It's the kind of revenge that doesn't come from pain, but from purpose. Because the best revenge is not in making them suffer, it's in making yourself stronger, wiser, and untouchable. There's a deep sense of fulfillment that comes when you stop waiting for closure and decide to give it to yourself. Because closure isn't about what they say, it's about what you choose to believe about yourself. You don't need their approval to move forward. You don't need their apology to heal. All you need is the courage to say, what they did will not define how I live. That single decision changes everything. You shift from being a victim of circumstance to the author of your own story. That's the moment your power returns. That's when you begin to write a new chapter without their influence staining your pages. Sometimes the people who hurt you never even realize the damage they've caused. And sometimes they do, and they don't care. But either way, their recognition or regret is not required for your transformation. Your journey is not about them. It never was. It's about who you become in spite of them. It's about the strength you build in silence, the peace you develop when you choose not to fight battles that aren't worth your soul, and the joy you create when you stop seeking revenge and start seeking healing. Healing is your revenge. Peace is your revenge. Living well is your ultimate response. People who mistreat you want a reaction. They want to feel powerful by knowing they disrupted your life. But the most unsettling thing for them is your indifference. When you no longer cry over what they did, when their name no longer stirs anger, when you see them and feel nothing, that's when you know you've won. Not because you pretended to be okay, but because you actually did the work. You healed. You grew. You let go, not for them, but for you. Because your future is more important than holding on to the past. And you're no longer willing to carry their pain any further. Let your life speak for you. Let your success be your voice. You don't need to scream about how far you've come. Just keep coming. Keep building, keep glowing, keep rising. There's no need to make noise when your light is bright enough to be seen without sound. Eventually, the same people who doubted you, hurt you, and counted you out will witness your elevation, but by then you won't even care who's watching, because you're too focused on what's ahead to be distracted by what's behind. That's the best kind of revenge. The kind that doesn't involve tearing others down, but building yourself up. The kind that doesn't drain your spirit, but fills it with purpose. It's the kind that turns every tear, every scar, every heartbreak into something useful. A lesson, a new standard, a deeper strength. And over time, you'll realize you're no longer the same person who was hurt. You've evolved. And that evolution, that unshakable, undeniable growth, that's your revenge, and it's more powerful than anything you could have said or done in response. There's a moment in your journey when you look back at all the pain, the betrayal, and the disappointment, and you realize something powerful, that you survived. You made it through what was meant to destroy you. And not only did you survive, but you started to rebuild. You started to rise. And you didn't need to scream about it. You didn't need to announce it to the world. You simply became stronger in silence. That is the essence of true revenge. Not by seeking to hurt those who hurt you, but by showing them that what they did couldn't stop what you were becoming. You didn't break. You transformed. The greatest revenge isn't found in what you say. It's found in how you live. People expect you to stay angry, to stay bitter, to let your pain keep you stuck. But when you grow in ways they never imagined, when you become someone so peaceful, so focused, so elevated, it sends a message that words never could. The most powerful version of you is the one that no longer reacts emotionally to people who once triggered you. You've gained control, you've mastered your emotions, and in doing so, you've reclaimed your life. When someone wrongs you, it's tempting to want to make them feel what you felt. But that urge only keeps you tethered to them. It holds you in a loop that constantly replays the pain, and the longer you stay in that loop, the longer they continue to have power over you. But the moment you decide that your peace is more valuable than proving a point, everything shifts. You move into a space where your healing becomes more important than their presence. That's where the real freedom begins. Not in revenge, but in release. You learn to protect your energy. You stop explaining yourself to people who chose not to understand you. You stop opening doors that lead to the same pain, and instead you focus inward. You build new habits, new goals, new dreams. You create a space within yourself where no one's betrayal can reach. And the more you grow, the more you realize that the people who hurt you were just part of the process. They were not the end, they were the lesson. And the lesson taught you how to love yourself better, how to see your worth more clearly, and how to never settle for less than what you deserve again. Let them see you thriving. Let them wonder how you managed to turn pain into purpose. But don't go back for their validation. Don't look over your shoulder hoping they'll finally see your value. Keep your eyes on the future. Keep your heart set on peace, because the people who hurt you may never change, but you can. And that change, that transformation, is your revenge. You've risen above the noise, the chaos, the confusion. You've chosen clarity, discipline, and self-respect. There is no need to seek revenge when you've found yourself. That is the victory. That is the triumph when you no longer carry bitterness, when you wake up excited for your future, when you sleep peacefully knowing you didn't become like those who hurt you. That's what it means to truly win. You didn't need to shout. You didn't need to fight. You simply kept growing, and now you are free. Free from the pain, free from the past, and free from the people who thought they could break you. And that freedom, that quiet, powerful freedom, that is the best revenge you could ever have. At some point, you stop looking for revenge and start searching for peace. That shift is where real strength lives. Because the truth is, no amount of retaliation can undo what's already been done. No level of anger or bitterness will make someone understand the pain they caused if they've already decided they don't care. So instead of wasting energy trying to make someone regret their actions, you learn to invest that energy into healing yourself. That's the kind of revenge that lasts. That's the kind of revenge that transforms your life. Not by changing what happened, but by changing how you respond to it. You no longer seek to control others. You commit to controlling yourself. When someone hurts you, the wound isn't just emotional. It becomes a weight. You carry the disappointment, the confusion, and sometimes even the guilt, wondering if you did something to deserve it. But part of your healing is learning to let go of what's not yours to carry. You are not responsible for how someone mistreated you. You are not to blame for someone else's inability to see your worth. What you are responsible for is how you rise from it. That's your power. That's your revenge. You choose to use the pain as a stepping stone instead of a prison. You don't stay in that chapter. You finish it. And you begin writing a new one with more clarity, more courage, and more care for yourself. The best revenge is growth. It's becoming the kind of person who doesn't need to talk about the past because the future is far more exciting. It's when you don't even bring their name into conversations anymore, not because you've forgotten, but because you've outgrown the need to keep telling that story. It no longer defines you. You've written new stories since then, ones that are filled with strength, self-respect, and progress. And when you live in that space of forward momentum, their actions start to fade into the background. They become nothing more than a memory of who you used to be and how far you've come. There's a peace that arrives when you no longer feel the urge to prove someone wrong. You no longer crave the moment when they see how successful you are or how happy you've become. Why? Because you've realized that proving something to them would mean you're still holding on. And real healing happens when you let go completely. You no longer care if they regret it. You no longer care if they notice, because your life is no longer about them. It's about you. Your energy, your time, your heart, it all belongs to your growth now. And the most beautiful part, the people who truly matter, the ones who genuinely love and support you, will never need to be shown anything. They'll already see it. They'll witness your evolution, not as a performance, but as a natural result of who you become. That's what you focus on now. You don't need to look back. You don't need to get even. You just keep becoming more whole, more intentional, more at peace. So let them go. Let the pain go. Let the past go. And rise, not to prove a point, not to win a fight, but because you deserve the kind of life that isn't held hostage by someone else's actions. That's what real freedom looks like. That's what true power feels like. And that, without needing to say a word, is the best revenge you will ever have.